Hi everybody, welcome back to Indycar. This is the 19th of July 2018. I'm sorry, I'm a bit messed up today. I've just heard some very strange news passed to me by a friend online. Now, often people pass me news stories that have appeared in the morning's papers, and one appeared in the Metro this morning. And this particular piece of news is probably the closest thing we've had yet to an admission from the Tory government that they are actually expecting to have not a hard Brexit, but a no-deal Brexit. Because Theresa May has announced today that the government is to issue probably over 70 warning notifications. These are public warnings to members of the public and to businesses on how to behave and how to take precautions appropriate for a hard Brexit where there is no deal. In other words, these are advice notices to British citizens on what to do if there is a no-deal Brexit. Now, this is very reminiscent of the old days of warnings about what to do in the event of a nuclear war, where you were supposed to duck and cover, basically, huddle up in a ball and hope for the best. Now, in this case, this is the clearest warning yet that we've had from government that the prospect of a no-deal Brexit is likely, or more likely. They'll never admit it in public, but I think most people in the UK, and particularly most people in Scotland, are beginning to realise that the Tories' plan all along was for not just a hard Brexit, but for a complete and total no-deal Brexit, because as we've seen from the kind of proposals being put forward by the Tories, they cannot make this fudge work, because there's 4 countries in the UK and only 2 of them actually want to leave the EU. The other 2 don't, and one of them is attached via a land border to part of the EU. So there is no way that all 4 nations can really exit cleanly out of the EU without any problems. So it's looking more and more likely now that the no-deal Brexit is going to be not only the likely outcome, but the desired outcome, particularly from many in the right wing of the Conservative Party, who now believe that only a completely clean break makes any kind of sense. And in a bizarre kind of way, the logic of that actually works, because although sorry about the break there in transmission. I was going to say the prospect of a no-deal Brexit is actually in a way preferable to some people than to drag it out and to be a sort of pseudo part of the EU, when really what is being asked for by the Tories is a complete separation. They don't want to have their tax havens closed down by the European Union. That's one of the primary reasons why the Tories are wanting out of Europe. And they don't really mind how much damage they do to the British economy in the process, because they will see that as a price worth paying. Margaret Thatcher once said that 3 million unemployed people was a price worth paying to build the service economy that she wanted to see in the UK after shutting down just about every single heavy industry that we had. The Tories are quite happy to sacrifice, particularly what you might call working class people or people with lower skills, in favour of big business, big money, and the City of London. So I think this is the clearest evidence yet that we've had that we are heading for not only a hard Brexit, but a complete no-deal Brexit, where we exit with nothing. And they're actually going to warn people what to do. You know, how much food to stockpile, how to keep enough petrol in your tank, how to be able to afford the escalating costs of food, of fuel, how to save money, how to grow your own vegetables. There will be all kinds of almost wartime advice on how to deal with the impending disaster that they are anticipating. So if this doesn't start the SNP thinking about triggering the next referendum, I don't really know what will. It's almost an admission that we're going to have a no-deal Brexit. Almost. Why start telling people that you're going to put warnings out? Over 70 of these notifications are being prepared at the moment for both different departments but also for different businesses, for different sections of the economy, for different types of business, including retail, including manufacturing, food, so on. They're going to be advising all sectors and all sections of society what to do in the event that we have no deal with Europe. So they are taking it very, very seriously, so seriously that they're making actual physical preparations for it now. And we also know that the continent is gearing up for the same thing, because they have already said to every one of the 27 countries to prepare for a hard no-deal Brexit. Everybody is anticipating it. Nobody wants to admit that it's going to happen, but I think we can all see the writing on the walls now that it's not going to be this fudge that the Tories have managed to stir up. It is not going to happen. This business with the soft border and the frictionless Northern Ireland border, it's a nonsense. It's not going to work. We will know tomorrow when Michel Barnier comes back with his initial response to the British proposals. And I would predict that Barnier will come back saying, we're afraid that these just don't measure up. They're deficient in so many different ways, and they also divide up the 4 basic freedoms of the EU and cherry pick the various parts of it that the British government wants to keep, and that is unacceptable to the European Union. And he will say, come back with a better deal or all bets are off. And that's when the Tories will start trying to get a deal. Will try to negotiate. They will fail to negotiate a deal because there isn't a deal to be negotiated, because the European Union can't change the rules for one member, and they won't. 27 members say, we're not changing the rules. If you change the rules, you have to change them for us as well. The European Union cannot afford to do that. So that's what's going to happen, I believe. Other things are going on as well at the moment. It's been announced today that the European arrest warrants for various members of the Catalan government in exile in Europe have now been dropped, including the one against Carla Ponsati, who is currently, at St Andrews, where she's working at the university. So she is now at liberty. She can now freely move around the European Union without risk of being arrested or deported to Spain on any charges whatsoever. Only if she returns to Spain and Catalonia might there be a problem. So that's very good news for Catalonian exiles and for Carla in particular. So we hope that this is the start of a softening of the attitude of the Spanish government, which has a new government now. It's not perfect, but it is a little bit more reasonable than that of Mr. Rajoy, who I think nobody was sad to see the back of. Anyway, those are the main points of the news today as I understand it. I'll be back again tomorrow with more information, but I'll see you, I hope, tomorrow at some point, probably in the afternoon again. This is a busy week for me, so I'm sorry the programmes are a little bit at odd times this week. I'll see you later. Bye for now.